Support the Amigos podcast and keep the Amiga goodness flowing for just $1 a month. Visit our page at patreon.com/AmigosPodcast.
Amiga, the first personal computer that gives you a creative edge.
Amigos, the podcast about everything Amiga. Amigos is a proud member of the Throwback Network, your home for quality retro podcasts. And now, here are your hosts, Aaron Dowdy and John Bodovkar Schaller.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Amigos. I'm John.
And I'm Aaron.
And today we're going to talk about Lethal Weapon.
Ooh.
Yippee-ki-yay.
That's a wrong series. That was Die Hard or Dead Hard.
What about I'm Too Old for This?
That's the right series. You got it there. You've never seen these movies, have you?
Gosh.
Bo, let me ask you a question before we get this show started. Name any buddy cop film you've ever seen.
Bad Boys 2.
You saw Bad Boys. Why would you go watch that and you haven't watched this? That's got violence and sex in it.
It was on a band trip.
What band were you in?
The
Motley
Hurricane
Crue?
Band. No, it was either band or show choir. And
They
were
showed
playing
that to kids on a bus?
Oh, we watched all kinds of. We watched Interview with the Vampire on the way to
Man,
Florida.
you can feel the lawsuits accumulating in the distance.
Yeah, in this day and age, you wouldn't be able to get away with that.
So what did you think of Bad Boys 2? That's got Will Smith and Martin Lawrence.
The violence wasn't over the top, and I liked the humor. I think both those guys are funny. I know it's not cool to like Will Smith, but I like Will Smith.
You're right. We should put out a disclaimer that normally you don't watch any violent films or films that have a lot of nastiness in them.
Right.
Do you? Boat watches a lot of PBS, for example. He watches
Songs of Praise on the BBC.
his favorite show, Lawrence Welk.
Yes.
Right.
Hey, all serious. I like Lawrence.
I
Welk.
wasn't lying when
Yeah.
I said that. So with this in mind, we chose this week. Whose game was Lethal Weapon, Boat?
This game came to us directly. I've already erased it. I'm gonna have to look it up again. This was this.
I set them up and they knock you out.
Well, I had it on the thing, and then when I erased, because I already put our notes down for our next show.
It doesn't matter. The point of the matter is, I'd never even heard of this game, but I had heard of the movie. So you're looking it up.
I'll
right?
look it up.
There's going to be heavy editing involved in this particular
Keep talking.
segment. So you've never seen the Lethal Weapon series?
No, never. It's a Christmas film, right?
No. What? It's not. It's Lethal Weapon. What sounds like Christmas to you in that?
I've always thought people say that it's like the best Christmas movie. I'm dead serious.
That's the best Christmas movie?
Yeah, because isn't it set during
I
Christmas?
thought Die Hard was set during Christmas.
Okay, I think this is what's happened. I've
Let
gotten
me
it
ask you a
mixed up with
question.
Die Hard.
Who's the star of Lethal Weapon?
Mel Gibson.
Right. Now, who's the star of Die Hard?
Mel Gibson.
No.
It's the guy from Armageddon, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay.
It's that guy.
Danny Glover.
No. What? No.
Oh.
No. It's Bruce Willis. You know Bruce Willis? Ever heard of him? He sang, had an album.
I think we'll agree to disagree on this one. Who's Danny Glover?
Danny Glover's the other guy in Lethal Weapon.
Okay.
He's the one that's too old.
He's the one that's ready for retirement?
That's right.
Okay. I know about that. See, I'm with it. I'm hip.
You say that with no shorts.
I got shorts on right now.
No. They're aqua blue. They got little trees on them. Don't stand up, for God's sakes. And there goes the viewership for this week.
I think that this is one of my best looks ever, to be honest with you. I like the little palm trees on them. There's a Jens Linkman album that's got that same palm tree on it.
Uh-huh.
And then you already made fun of my shirt.
Well,
You don't like any of my clothes.
I like them. I like them on you.
Well, that's nice of you to say.
You got hair, too. You got that going for you.
Well, thank you.
Did you give up on finding this?
No, I'm still looking. You can keep talking.
So we're off the rails. They're early tonight. Just find the thing. You can do your magic.
I got it. Lethal Weapon. Tell me about it. It's ocean, right?
Well, it is. Let's talk about the movie.
Okay.
Lethal Weapon. So, I saw this movie when it came out back in the day. It was a Richard Donner joint. You know it's going to be solid action for sure. And it was out, and Warner Brothers put it out. This thing had a budget of $15 million and made $120 million. That's a huge amount of money, Bo. Just my point.
I wonder if that's why it had 3 sequels. Or there's 4 sequels now, right?
I think they're making a 5th.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy. So, if you haven't seen the movie Lethal Weapon, it's a buddy comedy. It's probably one of the original buddy comedy movies, and it has Mel Gibson and Danny Glover.
This is a comedy?
It's a comedy dramedy. It's a dramedy.
Really? So it's like Bad Boys.
Yeah.
I always thought this was like an ultra serious, like Terminator type film.
No. And Gary Busey's in it, man. And
I like him.
He's completely out of his mind. So the premise of this flick is Mel Gibson plays this guy named Martin Riggs. Everybody calls him Riggs. This guy was a former like tough military guy. He was like a Green Beret or Ranger or something. And his wife gets killed, and he becomes suicidal. Okay. And what that means is he just takes crazy chances. He didn't give a crap if he lives or dies. He does crazy stuff.
Is he the lethal weapon?
He is. He's out of his mind. So they're like, listen, you need to go with Danny Glover. Danny Glover's character is getting ready to retire. He's like a 50-year veteran, right? And they figure they'll partner these guys up, and it'll calm him down. Basically, it doesn't work. If you've seen the movie. It's crazy time, and I will say and this is before Mel Gibson was like public enemy #1. It's funny, there was a time where Mel Gibson was one of the most popular actors in the world.
Yeah. Think about his film What Women Want.
No.
Oh.
What? Why would you think about that? Of all his great hits,
That's
Braveheart? No.
we watched that in Coach McKinney's class. Did you have him for history in
No.
11th grade?
No, I don't know who that is.
Yeah.
Braveheart. You watch that for history?
Yeah.
Because I've heard it's historically inaccurate.
Maybe it wasn't. Maybe it's Last of the Mohicans. Was that's almost the same. That's not the same movie, is it? That's never mind. Just forget it. Move on. I seriously thought that those were the same film.
Last of the Mohicans, eh? You realize that the other movies doesn't have anything to do with Native Americans, right?
Oh boy. I get all confused. Movies are not my forte. Have you realized that?
Yeah, I've seen it now.
Okay.
So anyways, it's a good flick. I've seen it. I saw the second one. I believe the second or third one.
Is this your favorite Mel Gibson movie?
No. Of course not.
What's your favorite?
He was in Machete Kills.
Is that your favorite Mel Gibson
absolutely.
movie?
He was great in that.
Is he in both? Is he in the first Machete?
No, of course not. No. That one had Steven Seagal. So I like that one too. But yeah. But Mel Gibson, lots of good stuff. Like I said, and if you've been living under a rock or whatever, he had his run-ins with the press and he said some bad stuff. He's on the comeback trail.
Yep, he's on the comeback trail.
But he did some incredibly stupid things. God, what an idiot! He threw his career in the toilet. But this game and film predates his idiocy. So I just heard your door knock.
That's the ghost that lives upstairs.
Okay, fair enough, man.
I'm serious. Like, it'll knock every once in a while. It'll go away.
It wasn't the front door. Somebody knocking.
No,
the door?
it was the basement door.
That's weird, Boat. So, we trying to get into this? We got to do any news, anything?
I forgot about the news.
Listen, we got to start this over.
No. I'm putting this up unedited.
No.
All right, no.
We're starting this over. This is a disaster, Boat.
We're not starting it over.
Yeah, and also you're going to reset the stream because I just saw the thing flash across.
There's nothing flashing.
Stop the stream and then restart it.
It's fine. There's nothing bad going on.
Something happened just now. I saw.
You don't need to be concerned with what goes on over here. This is my world. That's your world.
That empty bottle is your world. I can tell we're off the rails here, Boat.
Okay.
Let's start this again.
No. Seriously, we shouldn't start it again. This is great.
No, Boat. This is no good. We've got to start it again.
Have you read the chat?
Yeah, we're gonna start this again. That's no good. We can't because this is completely.
Okay, if we start it over again.
Yeah, we're gonna start right now.
Okay.
Pull it together, man.
Okay.
Pull it together. Let me get my show notes up. All right, you ready?
Yep.
Go ahead.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Amigos. I'm John.
And I'm Aaron.
And today we're going to talk about Lethal Weapon.
Beautiful. I used to like the movie. I did. It was good.
I've never seen it.
Yeah, I've heard. You want to talk about some news?
Let's talk about Amiga news.
Do we have any feedback you want to go over before we get into the news? Are you
nope.
saving that?
Well, we don't have any feedback.
Okay, fair enough. So, this news week, it was a little light, but there was a couple things I thought was interesting. I'm just going to go right over it in order as to what I've got on the old Gambletron here. Now, listen, I enjoyed this. Duncan Stiles has been putting out some really good articles here recently. He wrote one this week, and it was on the game, and this is topical because we played this game during last year's Amigathon. No second prize. You remember that game?
It's a racing game.
It is a motorcycle racing game. It's probably the second best game Thalion ever did next to Lionheart,
Right.
which is awesome. But this is that motorcycle game that used the mouse. You remember that one? And this is a really interesting article. He did a good job on it. I really liked that game. It was difficult to control, which is mentioned, but I enjoyed it. I thought it was a pretty fun game, and it's one that I've tried to play a few other times and just did horrible. Not good at it. But controlling a game with a mouse, I guess it's an analog surrogate, right? I mean, effectively, that's what they're doing with the mouse.
I've never been a fan of racing games that use the mouse. To me, I'd rather either use a joystick or even cursor keys is a better.
Well, again, I guess in a day where there weren't a lot of analog joysticks around, it's an interesting.
Well, I know, like Super Hang-On, it always had the option. You could use the mouse if you wanted to.
Yeah, this one would probably take some practice, But Duncan does a good job, real good article. I've noticed. I really like what he's been doing. He's doing some good stuff.
Man, he's in chat with us right now.
Yes, sir. Since we're going right down the line, we'll talk about our good pal, the Brutal Barracuda. He has produced another one of our mailbag moments. This time, this is when you got your the lovely gift of the Super Nintendo Mini, which was an
awesome
nice
gift from Christopher Hassel.
Yes, don't ever hassle that guy. Now, here's something that it touched me deep inside when I saw this came out. Our good friend, the Dreamcatcher. He had to do it. It's an article devoted to Top Cat, Hanna-Barbera's Top Cat. Now
you're kind of an aficionado of Hanna-Barbera's
I don't know if I'd go there. I do. I have watched a lot of Hanna-Barbera in my youth.
I just want to take a quick break. There's one part of our song that we're playing in band, and there's this part that goes. Do you know what that is?
No.
That's the Jabberjaws theme song.
See,
okay? And so I took a poll of my students, and I said, do you know who Jabberjaws is? Only one kid knew who Jabberjaws was.
Yeah.
I figured he was like a national icon.
The funny thing about Jabberjaws, Hanna-Barbera had this gimmick, all right? I may be talking to you stuff you already know, but their gimmick was to take an animal and then get someone that it can replicate a famous person's voice and stick it on the animal. Top Cat was one. Jabberjaws was one. They've got a bunch of these guys. And Jabberjaws was basically Curly from the Three Stooges.
The kid mentioned that too. Right. He said he sounds like Curly from the Three Stooges.
That's exactly right. Now, and some of these guys, Top Cat's example, are stars that I can't remember because they've been around for so long. I wish I could.
Like
Snagglepuss is another guy. Heavens to Murgatroyd. I don't know who he's doing.
He was Rich Little, right?
Rich Little was the impersonator. So no.
Okay. Unless
Rich Little was impersonating the guy that they ripped it off of. But Hanna-Barbera cartoons are always sort of, I don't want to say they're second rate because that's not fair. They had a lot of big hits. Mm-hmm. They had your Scooby-Doos. They had your Flintstones. They're big.
I think it wouldn't be fair. It would be fair to say that their animation might have been second rate. The quality of their animation.
It was a different era, but yes,
they were cranking out
too. Yeah,
they were cranking out content.
Even Fred Flintstone's a knockoff. And Barney, those guys are knockoffs too. So they were super famous. I don't guess Scooby's really a knockoff anybody, but maybe he is. I don't know. You got to think that stuff came out in the '60s, and that's a long time ago, even for guys like us. It's a long run. But I like Hanna-Barbera stuff. Like I said, I mentioned before that I really dug Space Ghost and the Herculoids and some of their more. Johnny Quest was another one of theirs that I really liked. So, but anyway, Top Cat, one of their lesser known entries, and Dreamcatcher's all over it. I believe now that I did not play the Top Cat game. I played Huckleberry Hound. That's the one I played. Now Huck Hound's another one.
Less than ideal.
They've got all kinds of cats. It's like cats and dogs.
Well,
they got tons of them.
I was going to say, I think that they were more dog heavy because they were also. Who was El Bongo?
No, you're talking about the donkey.
Yeah.
He was a donkey.
He was a donkey?
Well,
I thought he was a dog.
That guy's name, no, he was a donkey, I think, and his name was...
El Kabong?
El Kabong was his... That's what he was... It wasn't his name, though.
Oh.
He has a name. I can't remember his name. Boy, you put me on the spot here. But, yeah, that's another one. So those guys, just kind of a wacky cartoons. If you're into that sort of thing, or just, it's dream catching, enough said. Have a look at it. We also just released, we should mention our sister show, ARG Presents. This week, we got a little crazy, and we did a show on Virtual Boy that came out. I believe it just came out a while. It wasn't too far back. So if you're into ARG, give that a shot. I want to buy a Virtual Boy, but they're expensive, so it ain't probably gonna happen anytime soon. You got anything we need to discuss on here?
I don't think so. I think we can dive right into this week's game.
You want to talk about the Amigathon real quick?
Oh, sure, absolutely. Yeah. So, Amigathon is quickly approaching. It is going to be on July 7th, and if you'd like to donate, you can go over to Extra Life. If you just Google Extra Life charity Amigathon, then it'll go there. I'll put a link to it in the show notes too. For every $1 you donate, we will play 1 minute of your favorite Amiga game. We've already gotten enough donations to fill up 6 hours of content, but we will go on until, as long as we need to, because we're raising money this year for the Children's Miracle Network of Hospitals, help a lot of sick kids. So if you feel froggy, you can head on over to extra-life.org and search up Amigathon and throw us a few bucks. Amigathon's always a good time. You can hang out with us in the chat all day. And don't forget when you donate to specify if your money should go to Aaron or me getting the pie in the face.
It should be both. Make your payments out to both pie in the face. Amigathon was a lot of fun last year. And I'll be the first to admit that I had no idea that we could even pull it off. I mean, I'll give you credit from a technical standpoint. You were a juggernaut of technical prowess last year.
I'm going to try and make it better this year.
And boy, we raised a lot more money than I thought we would. I wasn't sure. I remember telling Bo, man, I hope we get a couple people will give some money. And I believe before we started the auction, we were near $500, weren't we? So we were doing, and we're well on track this year to come up around that same area. And it really is for a good cause. Everything goes directly to charity. And you couldn't pick a better charity, I think, this year. Children's Hospital, big deal, it's nice. So if you feel so inclined to shoot us a few bucks, and hey, like I said, pick the game. If you want to see us suffer, pick a real dud. If you want to be a real funny guy, hey, 10 minutes of what's the worst game we did in the last year?
Oh, there's no question. Top Banana.
Top Banana. You could really screw us if you want to. Or if there's a game we haven't covered, you're like, these jerks. Because how many games did we cover last year that we ended up doing shows on? There were quite a few.
Yeah.
Or stuff that stuck in our back of our heads, exactly like we were talking about before with the motorcycle game. So it's a good way to get the game you want noticed, So, but we appreciate it. It's great for charity and make you feel good.
Yeah. All right, Aaron. This week's game is Lethal Weapon. This game was suggested to us by Amigos Game Selection Committee member Figgy CTZ.
Easy for you to say.
So thank you, Figgy CTZ, for selecting Lethal Weapon. Aaron, what can you tell us about this one?
Well, Lethal Weapon is a game based on the film series. This game came out on the Amiga in '92, and it was developed by Ocean, which is unusual, believe it or not. They didn't do a ton of developing on the Amiga. They mostly published. Mm-hmm. I looked at what they actually had developed in-house, and some of these titles I was sort of surprised. They did Batman the movie and Batman. They did 2 Batman games. And they did Addams Family. They developed Addams Family.
Really?
So, yeah. So that's which we'd covered. I can't remember if we covered a Batman game on here. I can't remember if we did or not.
It's very odd that we haven't, but we haven't. We still haven't done that kind of the game that everybody associates most with the platform because of the bundle.
That's crazy. So I looked this over just to see if there was any interesting people pop up that worked on it. And one thing I did see was that a couple of people that worked on this, including the guy that did the graphics, Don McDormand, also did the graphics for Parasol Stars. And also the coder also coded Parasol Stars, which I know is one of your favorites.
I love Parasol Stars.
So that's kind of neat. Lethal Weapon ran on the ECS-OCS platform. And this was a conversion. I think this came over to the Amiga I'm not sure where it was converted from or to, but it's probably the ST. We either went to it or from it. This game came on several different platforms. The aforementioned ST, the C64 line, and DOS, of course, and the Super Nintendo. I actually looked at this on a couple of different platforms just to see what the differences were. And the Super Nintendo version was looked very similar to this one. So I'm guessing, I know there were differences in different platforms into the game, and I can't go into great detail on it because I really only looked at the Amiga version, but I know there are similarities on other platforms. Now, the NES had a version of Lethal Weapon, but it's quite a bit different. It's a whole different game, effectively. So, for starters, let's talk about the film, as we mentioned earlier. In the show, the film was a very big runaway hit. It was released and directed by Richard Donner, very famous. Joel Silver was one of the producers, another very famous Hollywood fellow, and it starred Mel Gibson and Danny Glover. They made it for $15 million. It made $120 million. It was a runaway hit. And it spawned a series that I believe is on it has 4 movies and is in line to have a 5th. I believe I just read the other day when I was researching this that they had decided to make the 5th movie, which will be sort of a comeback film for Mel Gibson, who ran in all the trouble.
Did you see who did the music in this?
I didn't see who did the music.
Turn your page back.
You're talking about who did the music in the game?
No, who did the music in the movie?
Oh, I didn't even look. Who did it?
Pretty big name there.
Eric Clapton.
Yeah.
There you go. Well,
no
there
idea.
You go. It's funny because I don't remember thinking, I love the lovely tones of Eric Clapton. So I watched this. I just remember people getting shot and screaming and wacky lines. The movie is about a guy named Riggs, who is a former military specialist whose wife gets killed. So he goes kind of crazy and he's suicidal. And they team him up with a retiring 50-year police veteran and Danny Glover. And presumably to calm him down. It doesn't work. So instead, he drags poor Danny Glover through this movie, doing all these crazy high spots, while Danny Glover keeps talking about getting ready to retire. He wants to retire and not get killed. And he's got this crazy nut. So they didn't do him any favors. Big movie. It was a huge movie. And this game was actually released to coincide with the release of one of the films, which was Lethal Weapon 3. I believe... Now, it's been a while since I saw that one, but I think that is the one where America was introduced in a large way to Jet Li. Do you know who Jet Li is?
Yeah, he's a
martial arts aficionado.
Right, he's like the serious Jackie Chan.
Yeah, he sort of is. Yeah, he's a pretty serious guy. Something I didn't know about this, like I said, we'd mentioned that it was released on the NES in a different form, and there was a Super Nintendo version. There was an unreleased Master System version of this, which I thought was kind of interesting. Apparently, it was all but done. And it got canceled, and then no one has the ROMs for it anymore.
Wow.
That's kind of a bummer, isn't it? So, on to the game. What is this game? Well, I remember Boat described it to me in a conversation as Rolling Thunder-esque, all right? And I don't know if I'm going to go that far.
I appreciate you taking my take away from me before I can say it.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
Thank you.
No, you get nothing. You get because and I'll let you explain why you think that, because I'm going to explain why. For me, I didn't quite get the same vibe from it. The gameplay in this is actually kind of interesting. I kind of like the way you do it. So you start out at the beginning, and you're playing Mel Gibson's character, and you go and you're at an office building. It's the police station. And so you can go to, I believe there's 3 different people and get different missions. And you can, it's funny because I went to the first mission and I thought, well, they ask you if you want to accept it. And the first thing I did was no. I wanted to see what would happen. Mm-hmm. Nothing happened. So I thought, and so you can go and pick the mission 2 or mission 3. So I like the open-ended approach of the missions, which I thought that's a pleasant way to do it. Again, this is we've seen a few Amiga games that let you pick the level, and it's always nice to be. It gives you some variety, if anything. When you're in the police station, there are several different rooms you can go into, and again, I just was exploring around. And one is the computer room where you can save your game and do options. I thought that was cute. One's a locker room, and it's sort of like when you go in the locker room, you sort of tag out, and you tag in Danny Glover's character, and so you're playing him. I guess for starters, did you see a marked difference between the 2 characters?
They blew it. They could have made this great, and they sucked it up. It's the same stupid game with both players. What they should have done was, changed up the weapons, make your character act different, jump differently, move differently, so you can have your favorite, just like when you're playing a game like Super Mario Brothers 2 or something like that.
The rumor is that one character can jump a little higher.
I didn't see it.
I mean, if that's the case, it's a pretty small difference. So once you have selected the character, first of all, I like the fact that you get to at least pick the other guy. Mm-hmm. Now I don't know who's picking. I don't know if people are picking Danny Glover's character. In the movies, he was sort of the beat down character, and Riggs was the crazy man. But I usually played as Riggs just because I didn't feel like going to the locker room basically. So then you start once you pick a mission, you start the game, and the missions span from you're on boat docks, you're at construction sites, you're in the sewers. I mean, they didn't reinvent the wheel here.
Yeah, but I think that the scenes are done well. I think that everything is drawn well. I felt like this game had a pretty good amount of atmosphere. I mean, I haven't seen the film, but I'm sure that the locations in the film are similar, right?
Well, this was no, I don't think so at all. It's been since I saw the first one, but I know the third one. I mean, let's face facts. They're on a dock. They're in a sewer. I mean, yeah, those are generic locations. So I know for a fact in the Jet Li when they're on a boat for a big chunk of it. So yeah, I mean, but I mean, did they do that on purpose? They probably just said, okay, where are these guys going to go? Boat, construction site, sewer. When you're writing up one of these games, those are the three things I'd pick right away. Mm-hmm. Built office building, you got to put that one in there. Everything's always a building or a construction site. So you roll through these games, and you basically, this is a how to describe this? It's sort of, to me, it reminded me to a certain degree of sort of like a Elevator Action 2 type game. There's a lot of moving
vertical
platforms.
Movement.
There's a lot of elevators, and your guy runs through. He can duck or he can stand. He can't shoot while he's ducked, that got irritating real quick because this is almost reminding me of those games where, like, what was the shooting game where you hit the pedal that can make you duck and then you could shoot, a Lethal Enforce or something. This is a lot like the 2D version, basically. You can duck or you can shoot. You can't do both. And so you had to be tactical in your approach. There's tons of bad guys with various weapons. Some guys throw dynamite. Some guys have a blowtorch or a flamethrower, I should say. Some guys have just guns. And you roll through, and you get close to them, you can actually do karate on them or whatever. The levels look good. The music sounds good, and overall, the game has a pleasing look to it. It doesn't look cheap. In fact, it looks very console-like in a way, didn't you think? Mm-hmm. I had a look at this on the Super Nintendo just to compare the two, and I actually thought this looked better, which is unusual for the Super Nintendo. The sound effects are what you would expect. Like I said, they didn't really reinvent the wheel. As you go through here, you're collecting look like magnifying glasses. I guess they're like you're collecting clues to solve the crime. You're also collecting ammo clips to give you more gun ammo because you can run out of ammo, and once that happens, it's karate kicking all the time. Mm-hmm. There's nothing in between. There are one thing about this, a la Addams Family. There are secret areas. Mm-hmm. If you nose around, did you find any secret areas?
No, but I saw some on the playthroughs. Yeah,
they had some secret areas. I mean, I stumbled on one, so I mean they were there. At the end of every level, you have a boss fight. Some of the the bosses. I mean, honestly, I'll be honest with you, they're sort of generic boss fights. Like one guy had just like long chain thing he swung at you. That's the only guy I got to. The game is not what I would call unbelievably difficult, in my opinion, but it was not the easiest game to play. There are cheats for it, and you don't need a trainer. They're just they're in-game cheats, which is nice. But it was, I don't want to say it was generic, but it was sort of kind of. It reminded me, there's a game on the Amiga that I played called Navy SEALs. I think I've talked about that before. This was like a little slicker version. Some of the stuff sort of irritated me, though. They would put you in situations where there was a bad guy directly behind like a box, and he had the jump on you, and so it sort of felt kind of cheap. It wasn't the cheapest thing I've ever seen. There are exploding barrels that shtick. You know, every video game scrolling shooting tripe you can think of is in this game. They're all here. The bad guys. The one thing about the bad guys, they're real stupid, and so if you get the jump on them, you can just like walk up right behind them and go like bang, which is funny. It's mostly just their placement that you have to worry about. One thing I did enjoy is that you can sneak up. You clearly you can't shoot while you're ducked, but what you can do is if you just peek above an area where a bad guy is, you can shoot and your bullet will go all the way across the screen and you'll kill a guy if he's there. So you can pick guys off before you get to them, which is nice. It makes it a little bit easier.
One thing I didn't like was there's guys that drop dynamite from ledges onto the second level.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, there is no friendly fire in this game, so it would not affect the enemies that are directly below them at all. That would have been a nice touch if they would have done that.
And the funny thing is, as you go up in levels in this, the dynamite guys can just start. They're like mad bombers, man. They're launching dynamite as quick as one blows up. They launch another one, which that gets irritating. The jumping in this, I thought was okay. It's your favorite boat, up for jump. If you're comfortable with up for jump, you'll probably be okay. I thought the jumping was a little. It was not the easy. This is a game where you have to have precise jumping. It's one of those, and it's hard sometimes to precisely jump. There's a little bit of blind jumping here and there. One thing you can do in this that's neat, you can shimmy across chains and ropes. Your character can also shimmy up poles.
Yeah, you have
cool.
a lot of different abilities in this.
This game sort of reminded me. I know you're gonna yell at me, but parts of it reminded me. Maybe it was the structure a little bit of Addams Family. Not as good. But I mean, it's like if you want an actiony, more less goofy.
Yeah, I don't think I'd argue with that.
I mean, you could see how some of the guys from that worked on this, right? But I mean, I guess for me, and it's like I said, I'm not going to knock the game. I think it's an attractive game, and it was fun. I like the ability to switch levels on your own. Now, a couple of the levels are locked until you get past a couple other levels, and then the last level is a crazy secret level, where they kind of screw up your cop station. Overall, I thought it was fun. Everything about it was slick. I just thought it was pretty generic, which is how I would summarize the films, if you want the truth. I mean, people love these movies, but I mean, really, they're just another sort of buddy cop flick. I never thought they were particularly awesome, And so
were they the first buddy cop flick?
No, I don't think so. I mean, because you had Running Scared, I believe, predates Lethal Weapon. I
don't think anybody's heard of that movie, though.
Sure, that was a big deal. Billy Crystal was in it, and that was a buddy cop flick. I mean, buddy cop. You got to think you even had Starsky and Hutch and stuff like that from back in the day. I'm sure that stuff predates the Lethal Weapon films. There was nothing in this that's had anything to do with Lethal Weapon, really. Your guy doesn't go crazy and do anything or say anything. There's no dialogue until you get to the very end. At the very end of the thing,
he's like, yippee-ki-yay!
No. He at the very, very end of the game, there's some dialogue, and then they show some clips from the films. Just some still shots they digitized in. But I mean, nothing screams there. I didn't run across any characters really that were in the movies. That I remembered. I mean, Joe Pesci was in the movies. I didn't see any characters that were from the movies. Now, admittedly, it's been a little while since I saw the films, but I mean, it just seemed utterly and totally generic. You could have called this anything you wanted, And saying it's Lethal Weapon now. So if you're buying this to get the spirit of the films, I'm probably not going to get it. This could have been pretty much anything. But what they did do, I thought they did well. And the parts that I got to, I enjoyed. I like the elevator sort of action. I like ride up and down, be able to shoot guys. There's some stages where you just I don't know who would build a building with 10 elevators that span across the whole building, and people, and you're just leaping to your death. It's what building is this? Even in the cop office, buddy, the elevators just open shafts.
Right. That is a good point.
It's who built this? Jean-Claude Van Damme built it, But it's always that was kind of strange. But there's lots of in the sewer. There's areas where there's, we have to worry about water. There's several areas in the game where like the elevators are going up and down. There's chains you got to jump across and grab. I mean, it's not anything that's incredibly earth-shakingly brilliant, but it's well done for what they've got. I guess that's the way I would build this game.
Yeah.
It's a game that's good at what it does. Just what it does isn't real inspired. That's my opinion. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that your comparison to Elevator Action 2 is apt. However, I also think that my comparison to Rolling Thunder is also apt, especially in the early levels where you have the upper and lower region and you've got people popping out of doorways and things like that. Now, of course, this game switches environments a lot more than Rolling Thunder, and it is more of a game than Rolling Thunder. But that was the first thing that I thought
The
of.
Rolling Thunder guy has a cooler move.
Yeah.
This guy doesn't have a move like that.
No.
At least that guy's got the move. And this guy doesn't have any move.
I think that this game is probably Ocean's best platformer besides the Addams Family that I've played. The up for jump thing is a drag, but if you can remap that button, the controls are pretty tight. I think that, just like you said, I think that some of the enemy placements are a little bit cheap. A lot of times you'll just walk into a hail of gunfire and feel like, well, how could I have known that was going to happen?
That's probably, in my opinion, that's the game's biggest flaw. Is that I mean, it's just your generic. I'll put a guy here.
Yeah, and the people,
and
it is. I mean, if you played this over and over and over again, the trick is just memorizing where all those things are and getting around them. So it would be possible to master this game, I'm sure.
Starting over every time you get killed is a pain in the butt. Now, once you get so far in a level, you're okay, but that still gets old.
Mm-hmm. But overall, I think this is a pretty solid platformer on the Amiga.
Yeah, it was actually quite a surprise. There's also a great level where you have to avoid these barrels. And it's sort of like, I don't know if you got that far, but it's sort of like a live action Donkey Kong or something. It's real crazy. And the game, the level design is okay. It's really, I don't have a problem with the level design as much as I have as the enemy placement. This is a game that gets the level design pretty good. I think there's not too many cheap jumps. And the barrel level is pretty interesting. Then there are some points where you get to and you're like, how the heck do I get past this? Well, you have to really think about it. And the thing is that both characters you pick, like I said, effectively it's the same character, it's just a different skin. But they can both do a lot of stuff, and you sort of have to incorporate that into what you're doing. So I think that's pretty neat. And there are some timing-based elements, like, for example, there's a guy that every time you get near his platform, he shoots a flamethrower. Well, you've got to figure out how to kill him first, or you just eat the flamethrower. You have like a hit bar, basically. It's the standard stuff. You've got ammo. It's listed on the screen. I do
like the fact that your ammo is limited. I mean, that adds a little more strategy to the game.
In the early levels, I didn't find the limitations that confining, but I'm sure as you go through, it would probably get worse. But I did like the interface. Like I said, I looked at this on the Super Nintendo, and I think the Amiga version I like the look of the screen better, and overall, I'm with you. I thought it was a pretty good effort overall, and I was surprised that I enjoyed it such as it was. Lethal Weapon skin aside, they could have called it anything. It wouldn't have mattered to me. So I guess if you have an affinity to that movie, you might enjoy it more, but it didn't do it for me.
Yeah.
This thing it did decent reviews. Amiga Action gave it an 82. Get ready to hear these scores. They're very similar. Amiga Computing gave it an 82. Amiga Format gave it a 64. They weren't as keen on it. Amiga Magazine gave it an 8 out of 10. Amiga Power 78. And the One gave it a 79. I would say, that, again, this is a game that would fall right in that low B, high C category. I think as platformers go, I think it's a solid B.
Yeah, I think so too.
Shooting platformers. I mean, I think it's good enough. I mean, and the thing is, it's pretty tight.
Yeah.
They crossed all the T's and dotted the I's on it. So, I mean, I'll give them that. I eBayed this thing. It's funny where I found this. I didn't find any copies in the States. I did find, in fact, the only active copies, I looked in the history, the whole 9 yards. If you want this right now and you're in Sweden, you're in luck. They've got a copy on sale in Sweden for $66. Italy had the other two copies that were active, $82 and $17 respectively. So yeah, there's a weird chasm there between the things.
Yeah.
But overall, not the worst thing we've looked at. Not the best, but somewhere in the upper middle.
Yeah. Very good. So before we close this thing out, I'd like to remind everybody that Amigos are on Patreon. If you like the show, if you're watching in the chat right now and you'd like to head over to patreon.com/Amigos podcast and throw us a couple bucks a month, we'd surely appreciate it. You could join this illustrious list of names. These are all of our Patreon supporters. This is Dan Ross, Leaf Kaland, Alan Kebab, Donald Tyler, Level Lord, John Marshall, Matthew Perron, Ricky DeRocher, who's in the chat right now, Creepy Dead Boy, who's also in the chat, Figgy CTZ, Amigos Game Selection Committee member that chose this game, This Low Norris, Stefan Sorgard Mortensen, Edvin Helland, who was in the chat earlier, Blindo75, who just donated to Amigathon as we were taping, Christopher Hassel, Ravi Abbott, both of those guys were in the chat earlier. Chris Foles, Dreamcatcher, Laurent Giroux, Graham Vebke, Brent Dowdy, Lane Denson, Adam Battersby, O'Brien's Retro and Vintage, Gary Hucker, C. Brian Jones, Paul Harrington, Duncan Stiles in the chat right now, Anthony Jarvis, Tapes from the Crypt, Josh Nan, Will Williams, Adam Bradley, Jonas Rulo, THT, Eric Nelson, Kim, Tommy Humbertstad, Daniel Bingston, Brutal Barracuda, Darren Coles, Jason Warren's Pixels at Dawn, and Kjolbjorn Barman.
You didn't even need that sheet. You get that memorized.
All up here, baby.
It's amazing.
Next week, Aaron, we're going to take a look at a classic strategy title for the Amiga. This game is called Genesee or something like that. Yeah, Genesee. It was Adam Battersby request, another Amigos Game Selection Committee member. So we will take a look at that next week.
I never heard of this one.
Yeah, so it'll be a fun one to take a look at. Remember that Amigos records almost every Friday at 5:30 p.m. Eastern. If you'd like to join us in chat, you're more than welcome to. And if you're a Patreon supporter, hit us up on our Discord channel. There's Amiga talk going on 24/7 on there. Plus, you can hear about any upcoming schedule changes like today's. So hopefully we'll see you guys next week. Thanks for listening, and adios.